I'd like to thank everyone for being here. You know, I'm amazed at this congregation of how they come together uh, when things aren't going smoothly. Uh, we've got a lot of people that are out, uh, and we've had people step up and take their place. And, a lot of times, whenever you have to take on someone else's uh, responsibilities, might be a little fussing and a little griping about it, but not with this group. I want to compliment all those that participated in the celebration of life yesterday for Christina Ogle. Um, it was amazing how, really on short notice, that everything came together, and I thought it was a really nice service that was done. I was proud of all those that came together and participated into that. It was a great thing for a wonderful lady. So I want to thank you for that, and that is such a great thing when we all come together as a family. You know, I think a lot of the scriptures that we're reading sort of they hit home with us, on us that there's great hope to be had in our service to God. And if I had I tried to think of a catchy title for the sermon, and I came up with "Finish What You Started." A lot of times it's hard to do that. Um, I know I've told you the story about my. Uh, I don't know if you'd call it shed, an outbuilding, or whatever, but I decided I'd make that out of block. And you'll be glad to know I've never laid block before. And hey, it shows. One of my son's friends looked at it. He said, I've never seen that serpentine wave in a building wall before, but it looks good. Uh, and it took me a long time to finish it. Matter of fact, Donna probably prayed that I'd complete it one day. But it is finished now. So, we need, when we start things, we need to finish them. And, recently, you couldn't turn the TV on there for a couple of weeks without seeing the Olympics. And you've seen the athletes, and I got to thinking about the things they go through. I know some of you probably now, or even in your younger times, that you probably participated in sports, or maybe some of you were runners. When I was young, I could run really fast. When you're small and witty as I am, you better be able to run real fast. So, when I was thinking about that, they were participating for medals. You had one. If you won the race, you're number one. You got a gold medal, and it looked like an ashtray with a lanyard on it. So I mean, it didn't like something. Of course, a lot of people like bling. And the second place, you got a silver medal, and third, oh well, you got bronze. But they all were wanting to compete for that. Even the one that finished third, that was a great honor. And they really train hard to do that. It takes 4 years of training and competing in other races to get to the point where you can represent your country. And they have to go through, they have Olympic trials. A lot of the track and fields in Eugene, Oregon. The only reason I can remember that's my middle name, not Oregon. But they had to win those races in order to be able to represent their country. And that is a big deal to everyone. Not only the United States, we have a sense of pride when we're watching and we see these people, and we are anticipating them. A lot of times, I don't know about you, most of those people in these events I've never heard of till the Olympics, because we're UT football people around here in baseball now. And, mostly we remember our athletes here. But there for a moment in time, they're famous. And they worked hard for that. And as we watch that, one thing that I have noticed, and as we mentioned about the medals, they're winners and they're losers. But I don't know if you're really a loser if you made it all the way to the Olympics. But just think about this. You trained 4 years to finish last. But you finished. And as I was thinking about this, I started thinking back about how this applies to us today as Christians. That, there's winners and losers there too. I had immediately thought of, as far as an example of a winner, starting off, is that in Samuel, beginning in chapter 8, Israel decided they needed a king. God had fought all their battles for them, and as far as I can tell, and looking in there, he is undefeated. But yet they look around them and they see everybody's got a king, and they say, we want to be like everybody else. We want a king. So God decides to teach them a lesson. He's going to let them have a king. And in the 9th chapter, in the first 2 verses, it said there was a man of Benjamin whose name was Kish, the son of Abel, the son of Zohar, the son of Bechorath, the son of Apahath, a Benjamite, a mighty man of power, and he had a choice and handsome son whose name was Saul. There was not a more handsome person than he among the children of Israel. From his shoulders upward, he was taller than any of the people. So this was a good-looking guy that probably had a physique to match. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a born politician right here. You got the looks, and you got the physique there, and people are going to say, that's a guy we can follow, isn't it? But they didn't automatically take to him as king. It took when they were threatened that he sent everybody out. And a lot of times we just some of you get, when you're sick and like that, you get a card from the church. Well, listen how Saul sent out a message. He come in, had his oxen out. He come in and he all the people were upset because what are we going to do? Have you ever noticed in turmoil, you have people that come together or fall apart? Well, the people of Israel are falling apart. So he comes in. What's the problem? They tell him. He kills his oxen and cuts them up in pieces and sends them out to the various tribes of Israel. And he said, if you don't come in to fight this battle with me, this is what's going to happen to all your oxen. Well, I don't know about any of you. You ever tried to pull a plow? You need the oxen. Just like a farmer needs a tractor now. Before that, it was horses. Before that, it was oxen. So he sent them out. But there was a side note, an ability that God gave him, and that is found in chapter 10 in verse 6. And I want to read this to you because I found it very interesting. Said, then the Spirit of the Lord will come upon you, and you will prophesy with them and be turned into another man. And let it be, these signs come to you, that you do as the occasion demands, for God is with you. Saul had to change who he was, wasn't he? He said, when the Spirit of God is with you, you need to change the way that you are, the way that you think. When we talk about athletes, they have to kick it into another gear a lot of times. They have to dedicate their lives to their craft, to improve their abilities. And, we have to understand that we too have an obligation that in a similar way that we're the same way. In 2 Corinthians 5:17, which I keep highlighted in my Bible. These highlighters are great things. It says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. Now all things are of God. That's us. That's our training. We start our training, and as we have committed ourselves to God. God has given us a measure of the Spirit. Now we got to make some changes in ourselves. We got to start training to get ready to be a winner. And as we do these things, as we concentrate upon them, we can see the influence of God in our lives. You know, another thing that I want to put to you is that, life in the form of a race, which Paul, a lot of times, he either refers to things in terms of a soldier or of an athlete. But think about this. Is life a sprint or a race to you? By that, I mean a marathon. I looked it up. You know how long a marathon is? 26.2 miles. And I'm thinking that's like the equivalent of what, $10 general stores. We have to know that God has set us up for the long haul. And because of that we have to train ourselves that we're going to last to the end of the race. I myself, I never was a marathon guy. Legs were too short. So I just ran the short distances because usually the people I aggravated were a lot slower, so I can get ahead of them real quick. But, as we look upon a marathon runner, it takes a lot of dedication to do that. They get out and run all the time. Brother Bill Bryant, the minister at Wooddale, of course, his knees are erect now, but he used to that. He ran quite a bit. He asked me one time if I was a runner, and I said no. If he's seen me run and take off, there's a bear after me. But, we have to train to endure. We have to train to endure to make it to the end of this life. In Romans chapter 12, it talks about that we do not conform to this world, but that we transform and we renew our mind. In other words, we're going to switch off the things that we have learned that are worldly. That we have to turn off those things as the world sees, because we have a greater viewpoint now of life. One of the things as we study the scriptures that it kind of opens up things to us. Have you ever noticed that? You'll study and you'll look and you'll say, that makes sense to me. Before it didn't, but now it makes sense to me because God has shown me the way. Think about this. Have you ever had someone upset with you? And I mean, they just go off like a Roman candle on you. And, we sometimes react in like manner, don't we? But let's change our way of thinking a little bit to how God would handle that. How would Christ handle that? Would Christ say, I'm going to knock him in the next week, and believe you me, he could do it? Or does Christ say, this guy's got a lot of things going on in his life that he needs help with? Some of you have worked where you deal with the public, and sometimes they'll come in, they'll be upset with you, and most of the time it doesn't have anything to do with you. It's something outside, but you're convenient. And the viewpoint that maybe we need to take in our training now, I need to pray for that person. They've got a lot going on. They need God really bad. As we look in chapter 11, we see the Faith Hall of Fame, and we see all these people in there. They could not put all of the people that were faithful in the Old Testament in there because some of them aren't even listed. We see a lot of people around us, don't we, that are really faithful. They haven't erected monuments. Well, yeah, they have. It's called a tombstone. When you go through the graveyards and you look at some of the epitaphs and you see the ones that said, he walked with Christ. Wow. That is quite a statement, isn't it? And we want that all to be said about us, don't we? We have to see that faith has shown, that we have to, it says not to be burdened by the weight that is on us. A runner, have you noticed the runners? They're not overly dressed, are they? I haven't seen one running in a tuxedo. Maybe from a wedding, but never from a race do you see a man in a tuxedo. And why is that? Because that's an encumbrance upon him. That's holding him back. And so the weight that it's talking about, if we take on the things of the world and we let the world control us, it's going to be hard for us to finish the race, to endure to the end. We want to be focused. One of the things that we have to understand, that we have to keep our eye on the prize. And in Romans chapter 12, in the first 2 verses, it tells we have a goal in sight because we have Christ and we're focused on Him. That's the prize. Everybody here wants to go to heaven, right? All right. We're not getting a bus load up right now, but you're wanting to go, right? That's our goal. One of the things that we see and study and saw is that sometimes in a race, the runner falls. Now, when a runner falls in a race, he's got one of 2 choices. He can lay there, and all the cameras on ABC and NBC and CBS are focused on him, not to mention ESP. So they're sitting there watching him to see what he's going to do. The marathon runner gets up and he starts running again because it's a long race. When life knocks us down, it's a long race. We let God help us up, we dust ourselves off, and we keep going. We keep striving to do the same. We look in chapter 9 of Samuel, and we see there where Saul has been anointed king. But by chapter 13, he's already fallen away, and the kingdom has been taken from him. Because what he has done is that he was so busy taking stock in his accomplishments that were God's, and not giving God the glory. This is a great example to us, because sometimes we look about us and we say, look at all that I've achieved. Do you like it when people say, I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps? That's hardly ever true. Because usually opportunities are given to you, and I wonder who was responsible for that. We have to understand God is a huge influence in our lives. We don't see Him in a physical way, but He's there. The runner who falls, he has to understand he has to get back up. In James chapter 1, verses 22 through 24, it talks about the man who looks in the mirror and he turns away and he forgets what manner of man that he was looking at. Sometimes the hardest person to be honest with is yourself. I don't know about you, but I've had days where, I look at the guy in the mirror and I say, you're a goofball. In a loving way, of course, I said that to myself. But, sometimes you just make mistakes and, you thank God for being merciful to you. Sometimes you do stuff and the only thing you do is say, God, could you help me out of this? Because obviously I haven't thought this thing through. I was telling the story one time, this is a cow gets out story, by the way. One of our cows went to the neighbors to visit. And that was an unauthorized visit, by the way. So Donna and I, we go down there, and usually we'll just get a bucket of feed and they'll follow. But he had a nice garden. So it's perusing through the produce section. And so the guy there now, he had raised cattle and stuff. He said, maybe if you put a rope on it, you can lead it home. So I said, okay. So I had a rope in the truck, and I throwed it on that cow. I'm still pulling okra out of places I don't even want to talk about. That cow drugged me all over his yard. He felt so bad, he had to sit down where he was laughing. And it was his suggestion. But you know, sometimes we we think that we got a handle on things, and God said, "You need me in this one." So whenever we're doing things and we trip and we fall, let's let God help us. Let's not think that we did it all, because God is in control. You know, when you do a marathon race, you have to, usually they have a guy that they call the pace setter. You know, so, he'll get out there and he's running up front, and you're just sort of pacing yourself behind him. And you're waiting your time when you do that final kick. That's when you got that little bit of reserve energy that you can put it in a different gear, so to speak. And, you know, we have to look about this kind of like Paul did, because well, now we're going to have to finish that race, aren't we? You know, we're coming to the end of it. You know, as I get a little bit older, I'm closer to the finish line than I was. What was the statement? I'm as young as I'm ever going to be today. Tomorrow I'm going to be older, if God gives us tomorrow. So we have to finish the race. You know, at the end of the race, there's relief because that's over with, but there's also the reward, isn't there? You know, we might not get the gold medal in the Olympics, but we'll get that laurel of victory from God. You know, I was looking in the back of the songbook as Tim was getting up to lead singing, and you know, this is all about a victory, isn't it? This is all about winning. You know, the subtitles in the back of the songbooks there. There's 50 songs on victory in there. That's important stuff. But you only get the victory if you finish the race. You know, we look about us. I see a lot of empty seats where people put on Christ, but then they took him off and they went back into the world. And that is such a sad thing, to see someone just give up because they let the world win. That's the only losers, really, is when we give up on Christ. He never gets up on us. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. I'd like to read that to you. For I'm already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Finally, there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give to me on that day, and not to me only, but also to all who loved his appearance. That's me and you. I'm thinking I'm going to look good in a crown. And it won't have to be one of those Imperial Margarine commercials, because he's got a crown for us. I'm wanting it. I'm eyeing the prize. I want to finish the race. So here's my question to you as we come up to the end of the lesson. Are you a sprinter or are you a marathon runner? I hope your answer is you're a marathon runner, that you're set up to endure to the end, that you're putting your faith totally within Christ, because that's the only way we're going to finish it as winners. We've been